Hello, happy Friday, everyone. Happy to be here with you. And today we have a special presenter, Karina De Costa. Very happy that you are going to present how to make upgrade painless. And with that being said, I am very happy to get you the torch, Karina. And as we go through this session, the session is going to be recorded, so it's going to be available online for people who couldn't join. And hopefully that will make your upgrade painless and get you more visibility and understanding of what is an SAP upgrade, how to do that, and how to minimize the risk. So with that being said, Karina, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Oren, so much. Well, thank you everyone that could join this meeting. To me, it's a great pleasure to introduce all the things that we have learned throughout the different experiences as a customer. And I think one of the most valuable things that I can offer today is how you can feel empowered and more secure about the decisions that you are going to make whenever you feel ready to do your upgrade. So I want to give you all the tools that we implement and all the tools that we consider for a project like this, and so you can have your own guideline and make sure that by following it, make sure that everything will be as expected. I am the IT senior manager in FOH Inc. And I have been also a SAP Business One consultant since long time ago. And I just recently got my certification. I'm going to leave also my contact information. I will be glad to help you out with anything that you need related to upgrade processes. So I wanted to start explaining a bit who is FOH Inc. So we design and manufacture our products, which are two brands, Front of the House, which is in charge of all the food service industry, and Room 360, which is in charge of the hospitality industry. We are a very good, well-known, recognized company for every tabletop and hotel trends. Our two websites are here if you have time to check them out and check out our products. And this is what we manufacture and design products that are, the design is a very high-end, durable products. And we are very well recognized for that. In regards of our SAP infrastructure, we implemented SAP Business One in 2015, and we already went through 3 upgrade processes. One started from the version 8 to 9.1, then later we upgraded to 9.2, and we are currently in 9.3. FOH is very peculiar because we are very complicated in terms of the fact that we have 5 add-ons implemented and up to 10 different processes connected to SAP, in this case to the database. So we have business intelligence, we have portals, we have task center, we have a point of sale as well connected to SAP. So that obviously our upgrade makes it a little bit more complicated in that sense because we have way more things to consider. We also have 6 more companies implemented with SAP Business One that are part of the same group of owners. And we have 118 SAP Business One users plus 20 users who only, they are in the warehouse and they just use the handhelds. But they are part of our process as well. And of course, something that you most likely already know, our SAP, our beloved SAP business partner is Pioneer. So the agenda for today, I wanted to start it with the main goal, which is to, as I was explaining during my introduction, I want to make your SAP upgrade painless, and I want to make sure that that you leave this meeting with several ideas of things that you have to consider in-house, not things that usually are considered from Pioneer's standpoint, but things that you have to consider in-house in order to implement an SAP upgrade. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss is why do we need to upgrade the SAP versions? How is the SAP Business One support lifecycle established at the moment? Where do I start with this planification? Once you have a plan, what are those next steps going to be? How or what is the best recommendation for our testing phase? Then how do we usually organize our upgrade process in production? And then a summary of all the process flow that we implement. At the end, obviously, we have a round of questions, but please, I'm more than happy to receive your questions along this presentation. So why do we need to upgrade the SAP versions? First, I wanted to start talking about the benefits. One of the main benefits that I see is that they are every upgrade version wise and patch wise include fixes. So obviously everyone, SAP, it's almost a country. It has almost 10 million users out there in the world, and there is a lot of things that could be discovered in other implementations that could affect you in the future or could be affecting you right now. So new patches and new upgrades will bring all those fixes. Also, it enhances the functionality. I started working with SAP Business One with the 2005 version. And just to give you an example, back when we didn't have bin locations, for example. So SAP, every new family version includes such a great tools for enhancing the ERP experience. Recently was introduced the return request, recently was introduced compliance and new modules like projects, etc. Also, something that is very, very, very important for you to keep in mind is that every time you pay to Pioneer for maintenance, what you are actually paying for is for getting this, for supporting SAP to continue and to enhance and to fix this product. And so if you already paid for that, why you wouldn't try? Also, for us, it's very important the compliance. Why? We recently started our process to sell in Europe. So Europe, nearly August, I think, last year, introduced the GDPR compliance, which is a very, it hit us really hard in terms of the things that we had to consider. However, thanks God that we upgraded to a version where the GDPR compliance was introduced. Therefore, we were able to implement this, which it was a huge help for us. Something else also very important is the support, which I wanted to talk right now about it. So I don't know how many of you have versions of SAP that are lower than 9.3, but I wanted to let you know that versions like 9.0 went out of support in 2015. And even 9.2, which I believe is pretty recent, went out of support in 2018, which it means that if you ever have a problem with SAP or a transaction from SAP, the first thing that SAP will answer to, in this case, to Pioneer and therefore to you, is that you need to upgrade your version because they are not going to do hot fixes in your database if it belongs to these family versions, which to me, it took me as a surprise because the dates are very short. However, if you think about it, if you upgrade to 9.3, you're going to be fine until 2020, which is, you know, a good 2 years to plan this. Also, in the presentation, I'm leaving you the URL that you can click on, and it's going to take you to the SAP portal where you can see this information. And obviously, this information is all the time updated, so you can always get the latest one. How will you select the right version or even the right patch to upgrade? So one of the things that you have to consider is that SAP upgrades family versions. In other words, if you are in the version 8, you can't just choose to go to 9.1. They are most likely going to push you through the end to 9.3. So, but the process will be a little bit longer because then they have to take you from 8 to 9.0 and then 9.0 to 9.3. So basically, the upgrade happens between family versions. So 8 and the whole family of 8, and 9, the whole family of 9. Also, I will strongly recommend you, if you have add-ons, to check first with your vendors. Why? Because not all the time they have their add-on ready for that particular patch or even family version. So please make sure before you do and select anything that you can discuss it with them, especially if you have a patch in mind. Like in our case, we had a particular patch in mind of 9.3 going towards GDPR compliance. We had to actually request them to make sure that the add-ons were running in that particular patch. And also, I would like to encourage you to not be a guinea pig on this type of things, because not all the time the latest patch is the most stable one, especially if the patch says hot fix or it comes with that HF at the end. I will strongly recommend to you to discuss this with Pioneer and make sure that you go to a patch that's considered to be stable instead of a very, very new patch that could later change. So where do you start this process? I wanted to let you know how we do it. I like to call up a meeting with all the decision heads in the company and tell them, this is something that we have to do because of all the previous reasons that I exposed, like we are going to be out of support, or we are already out of support. We need to increment or enhance the modules that we have. We need to start using new processes. So I kind of like give them the introduction of why we need to do that. And to me, this is one of the main steps that assured us to be all row in the same direction. So once I propose to the team and I let them decide, and the things that I'm going to discuss right after, I think it opens so many doors and helps you to make them row in the same direction. So one of the things that we like to do is to contact your SAP partner and add-on vendors, as I was explaining before. So you can validate what you're going to do, how you can do it in terms of patch and enhancements. Also, it will be very important if you come to this meeting with a list of add-ons or process that you have a general idea, just a general idea of things that will be included in the test and things that could affect the rest of the team members in your company. One of the most important things that you can discuss in this meeting is to choose the right date, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. And also, let the head of the departments determine who is going to be the key users for your round of testing, and also let them talk about things. If you already went through an upgrade process, things that you need to consider in terms of lessons learned. There is always a lot of things to learn from there. So I wanted to give you an example of a little bit of how my meeting went with my team, with my head of the department. So one of the things that I did was to make a list of all our processes, and we categorized them together: what was critical, what was medium, and what was low. So just to give you an example, in our FOH environment, we classified as critical Avatax, which is our add-on that calculates taxes; Resolve, which is our WMS system or warehouse management system; and Commissions. Commissions is an add-on that Pioneer did for us to calculate all the commissions that we generate and have to pay to our reps. So then later we said, well, it is important, but we can certainly wait if something goes wrong with our credit card add-on, which we use EBIS, and with Task Center, where we automate a lot of processes in terms of sending emails and confirming shipments, sending invoices out. Also, low priority, we have a connector with that's called Match V1, which is the one that we use to feed our websites with what items we have at the moment. We also have Belogix, which help us to forecast better, and we have HANA Analytics, although we run SAP in SQL. So this led us to a contingency plan. How does this work? We said, well, regardless of what's going to happen, there is absolutely no negotiation where we can't go live if our tax resolve and commissions are perfect. But with the ones that were medium to low, we were able to negotiate how it could be the downtime for them. And this is very helpful for the one that runs internally the upgrade project, and also for Pioneer. To give you an example, we knew already for experience that HANA Analytics was very problematic, and although Pioneer always does a great job helping us enable HANA, every time we do an upgrade, it breaks. So it was very interesting to negotiate this time and to prepare beforehand, before the upgrade, all the reports that we needed to have in order, considering that HANA could have about 2 weeks of a downtime, which it happened for the second time, even though we took a lot of things into consideration, but still it happened. But this time we were prepared for that. After, also in this initial team members meeting, one of the most important things that we do is to choose the right date. So please keep in mind to avoid dates like the end of a quarter where everyone is trying to push the sales through, the end of the month where obviously there is a lot of interaction from finance, and the first week of the month also, because of finance, they use this week to close the month. So just make sure to try to schedule that in a very low month. In our case, we always try to do it either in May or in August at the beginning of quarters as well, and make sure to choose 2 possible dates. So when you choose 2 possible dates, you are like negotiating with them, when is it going to happen? If something goes wrong, you can always move it to the next weekend. So for these 2 possible dates, I'm talking about 2 weekends where you can do the upgrade. And also make sure to agree on a cutoff time. In our case, we said, okay, this time we already learned that we don't need to cut off to stop working in SAP so early as we did before. So this last time we agreed on 6 p.m. However, previously our agreement was at 3 p.m. So also something very, very, very important that we put in practice is called freeze time. The freeze time is a moment where we stop absolutely everything that could be a new implementation in SAP. Queries, layouts, everything is stopped, not implemented, and for the time period between you start your test in the new version and you finish your upgrade. After you finish your upgrade is when you resume all the enhancements or new reports or new layouts. Something that is very important to define in this meeting is who are going to be your key users. Try to define a key user for purchasing, a key user for sales, a key user for the finance part of the AP and the AR, the person who will process payments, the person from the warehouse. Try to define them and pick always, not the user that has more time to do this. Try to force them to pick the most knowledgeable users. The most knowledgeable users always comes with complicated scenarios, which is so very important. If you always test the same, like the same basic one, most likely things are going to go fine. But if you test the most complicated ones, you will see the challenges that you could have, and you will be able to keep them in mind, keep them in your documentation, and make sure they are going to transition to the new version just fine. Also, check, once you have them defined, check with them that they are not going to be out during that period, that during those 2 weekends that you already negotiated. And obviously consider the lessons learned. For us, although for Hannah, as I was explaining before, we took a lot of things into consideration. I don't think that we could do anything extra, but it's very important to keep that in mind, what things you could do better for the next time if you ever went through a process, and what things you have to consider in order to reduce the level of problems and to reduce the opportunities for things to go wrong. After you finish this team member meeting, you will be able to have an estimated date for the upgrade. Therefore, you can go back and confirm the upgrade date with your vendors, in this case with Pioneer and the add-on vendors that you use. And you will be able to start with your key users, or either by yourself, the test script. For the test script, we just go over the way that I do it is I go over the entire SAP modules. So I see the entire module, and then I start in Excel to extract one by one who is in charge of that particular test case. So, but that sounds very easy, right? So we will be able to do sales orders, quotes, delivery documents, and AR invoices. However, it's also very important for you to include in there what are the layouts or the printable designs that you need to generate with each. That is one of the things that could break. Also, try to reproduce or to list at least what are the reports that these users use, because reports could be also affected. And by reports, I mean the SQL reports, or the section where you run a query, or in this case, it's called report. And also, so very important, consider in your test script all the cancellations and void for every transaction. So don't always just go through the flow like quotes, sales orders, invoices, and I'm done. No, try to also cancel the sales order. Try to also cancel the invoice. Create a credit memo for the delivery. Create a return. Consider those as scenarios of cancellations, because those are the ones that we easily forget. Once you have a plan, you will be able to design your test script and then assign it to your key users. Why you have to assign it? You did an amazing job listing all the things that they should be keeping in mind, but they are the ones who use that. So most likely they are the ones who can enhance it and list the reports and list the layouts and list what are the most complicated BPs that you could consider. Also, try to sort the task in a way that it will help you go with the flow. What do I mean with that? So if you start with sales, then you can't just simply go back to the warehouse and make them process the deliveries, because then you're going to continue interrupting them, right? So the way that we did it is starting with purchasing, then we call the people from inventory, and they process the part of the inventory that was related to the purchasing part. Then we started with the customer service team, who entered enough information, new information into the system that allowed us to include the warehouse team into now the sales part of the warehouse. And then we finished, I'm talking in general, we finished with AP and AR and finance, which were the same key user in this case. So it was for us a little bit easier, and for the user as well, because then you are avoiding a lot of interruptions or a lot of scheduling time with them. And also keep in mind that if you have a freeze time, you are reducing a lot of problems in the future. If you take the database and you are ready to upgrade your database in a test environment, stop any new implementation. If you continue implementing things, those things are not going to be tested or will require you extra time to replicate. So to talk about our test environment, and this is very interesting because there is people like us probably that we do have a server for test environment, but I was also discussing this with Oren. Small customers don't have this, but as a customer that I'm right now, I was able to have a very nice conversation with Oren, explaining to him, well, certainly you could offer Pioneer's environment to do this test. So to me, my position is there is no excuses to have a test environment in place in order to implement your upgrade. However, I just wanted to point out a couple, three things that you should keep in mind and before you start your test environment. If you are feeling adventurous, for saying it in a way, and because you can certainly download from the website that I gave you in one of my first slides, you can certainly download the patch or even the upgraded versions, and you could even upgrade that yourself. However, if you are gonna, the fact that you are gonna, that you can do it doesn't necessarily mean that things are gonna go exactly as expected. Why? Because one of the things that you have to consider is if you don't separate completely your test environment, you can't just do it in your current environment. In other words, the fact that you have a sandbox doesn't necessarily mean that you can implement your upgrade in there. So the upgrades are done and involves the entire environment. So you can't upgrade your current production environment. Make sure to not do that. And make sure to discuss with Pioneer if the upgrade went through successfully. And if it didn't, and if it require SAP intervention, ask them why and what happened and what's going on. Because those things are very important to keep into consideration when doing the final upgrade. Also, a very good recommendation that we like to offer is to take a copy in Excel of what users has what license assigned, because this is lost during the upgrade process and it could save you a lot of time. So if Pioneer forgets, like it happened to me once, then you have your backup plan. So also something very important is for you to understand and measure the time that the database took to be upgraded. Why we do this? Because then we know for a fact that we need to upgrade one database overnight, or we can leave it upgrading once we leave and then come back the next morning and things are going to be ready. So then you kind of like make it more productive that weekend. And also contact your add-on vendors to install those add-ons in this test environment. So you will be testing with your newer version and with the add-ons compiled, as it's called, compiled for that version in that test environment. So everything will look as much as production will look once you approve it. How do we do this user testing? I learned that it's very productive to have two computers, one where you are typing or following the script that I mentioned, and then another one where the key user will be. Since, you know, they are stepping away from their duties, I always like to make a good environment for them. So I always offer them donuts or put them the, you know, nice music that they want to listen to. So I try to make it something smooth for them because obviously they are setting aside from their duties. Also, something very important is for them to use their credentials, their SAP credentials. And for these, you most likely will need to ask Pioneer to give you something that it's called temporary licenses. So all your users will use their own configuration and layouts. Why am I saying this? And before I continue, I wanted to tell you what happened. We discovered with one of the users that if we didn't have enabled a few fields that were new for the particular version that we were testing, we were not calculating taxes through Avatax, which it could cause a huge problem for us with the huge amount of orders that we process daily. Everything will be leaving without taxes for the time that it requires until we figure it out. So the fact that me as a manager, using the manager license, I have the capabilities to see everything. However, this type of users were not capable of seeing these particular fields that were the ones where the taxes were calculated. So that's why I'm including this into the consideration. And make sure to document how you can replicate the issues, because every time you pass this to Pioneer in this case, they are going to require you screenshots. They are going to require you how to replicate the problem. And if you just don't write it down in the script, it's going to just drive you insane. Sometimes it's very frustrating to try to explain something that you don't know how it's happening, but try to put it in there with all the details that you can, so you can save time and frustrations. This, by no means I want you to read this, but this is a little bit of our example, or how our test script looked like. So here I have a process which it was a cycle count, and we explained what we did and what was the number that was created, what was the document that was generated, how we tested this, who tested it, if this person approved it or didn't approve it, and any remarks, and when was this implemented. Then something very important is that at the end, I always send this to my users. So I will send this to John Smith, for example, which it was really interesting, because things that were accepted, fine, but the things that were not accepted, that were a problem, because we had a lot of problems with the add-ons, just to clarify, for a clarification in that sense, with the add-ons, so they could at least have a list of things that didn't go well and things that they know for a fact that we will have to test later. So this also generates, whenever you have an issue, I will strongly recommend you to enter them into what we call issue log. So our issue log includes, like, what's the number of the issue, what's the program that was involved, or in this case, the transaction that was involved, what was the description that we needed to do, and things that we needed to check before going live. For example, as I was telling you before, we discovered that we needed to enable a few fields in order to enable the taxes to be calculated. So that was marked as check before live. So we have our own checklist of things to do before we let them start working with the new system. Things that we learned and things that we needed to follow up were also here. So every time we were following up, in this case, using this example with Resolve, this is the list, this is what's pending, and we could follow up a little bit easier. To give you a little bit of an statistics of what happened in our last upgrade process, we have 10 issues that we identified. Among all it was just pure add-on issues. We didn't have any problem related to SAP, which is also a huge relief for those of you that don't have add-ons, because it will give you a little bit of more peace of mind, as SAP is very cautious with their upgrades. So they take a lot of things into consideration, and that's what assures that when you do an upgrade, you reduce the level of problems related to SAP. However, it could happen. It didn't happen in our case. But we did have these 10 critical issues that, by the way, if you remember here, what I was explaining before, the criticals were the ones that involved our WMS, taxes, and commissions. So then we also have medians, and we had a lot of low issues that we just left them there, and then we took care of their of them right after we did our upgrade. Also, something very funny and interesting is that we discovered that we had some things to improve and things to do differently that were not related to the upgrade. So it was kind of funny because it created like a wish list for Christmas that these users shared with us that we later just took a note of it and then later Pioneer implemented them. So once you have this, you're going to be ready to do your upgrade. So let's do this. How we did our upgrade. So when we designed or when we agreed our cutoff time, we said, okay, we're going to do it on a Friday and we're going to cut off operations at 6 p.m. So we requested all the users to close the SAP sessions, and Pioneer started the upgrade with the database that took the longest time. So in this case, FOH database was the one that took the longest. So they started with this wizard, with this installation, and with this database as the first one, and they left that running through the night. Also, something that was very interesting is that we just took time to do. Meanwhile, Pioneer was doing this, is that we started the uninstall process of the SAP local installations. So SAP offers you a tool to upgrade. You could either do that or you could do it the old-fashioned way, which is uninstalling the old version and reinstalling the new version. Then on Saturday, we started at 9 a.m. in the morning, and by then, during the night, FOH upgrade was concluded, so we were able to install all the critical and medium add-ons in production. We also, with them on the phone, which is something very important, because to make someone to work over the weekend, make sure to, now that you have them on the phone, or now that Pioneer have them on the phone, you will be able to test the transactions without hitting update. Okay, so with the tax people, I was able to see things were calculating correctly. I used this user's credential to make sure things were going smooth and working as expected. And also make sure to go through that issue log where I show you things that you need to check beforehand, and go through that, implement that, make sure that's implemented. Also, Pioneer will apply the licenses to the users, and by then you're going to be done for the day. Since we like the idea of uninstalling SAP, then on Sunday we took the next morning to reinstall SAP in the clients, so we would not leave the process of starting up SAP and the installation of the add-ons to the user, since they most likely could have problems or they could forget to run it as an admin. So just to reduce the level of work in our end, we did it on Sunday. This is totally optional. To give you a summary of the process is we always request an estimated budget from Pioneer to understand how much is it going to cost us to do this upgrade, to choose and validate the versions that you want to upgrade, have the team member meeting for agreements and engagement, set up your project plan with the dates, schedule the time with the vendors, make sure, and also very important, get their commitment, schedule it in a calendar appointment, because one time they forgot. Do the test phase in your test environment along with Pioneer. Monitor and fix the issues reported in your issue log. Retest those issues to get their user acceptance. Communicate to your team that you are ready to do your upgrade and do it over that weekend. And then go through the stabilization phase, which is a support on site provided by Pioneer, where you can have their team right on board to make sure that things are going as expected. So I don't know, how do you conduct the questions, Oren? But I'm ready for any questions.
Karina, thank you very, very much. This was excellent. Quick question. So, we have in the audience many clients that obviously you have a very complex environment with many users. And based on your experience, if we have like simple clients that have, vanilla SAP Business One, no add-ons, maybe 5 to 10 users. Would you consider to go directly to upgrade the production, or would you suggest to conduct a test before?
Well, we have FOH, which is very complicated, as you said, but we also have these other six vanilla companies as well. So yeah, I actually could say that you can just go straight and upgrade in production if that's what you want to consider. In terms of budget, if you do have the budget to spend the time testing, it will be very interesting and important to do it. However, based on our experience, the 3 times that we did our upgrades for the particular vanilla databases that we have, we didn't have any problems just with pure SAP. So even I will say they could do it.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions? You could either type the questions in the chat or enable your speaker. So until we have other questions, Karina, maybe one more question. How often would you recommend to do an upgrade?
I will personally, I think we have to upgrade every time we are totally out of maintenance. We should be upgrading as soon as possible. To me, it gives me a lot of peace of mind to be in 9.3 right now, because 9.3 will be in support life cycle until 2020. So it is, I will take that into consideration. I wouldn't say every year or so, but I will say just, do it when you need it, in terms of enhancements, if you have to consider enhancements, or in terms of support.
Okay, great. How would you get the information of a new version and the new features and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I actually included in the presentation for the users to a few links where you can also serve yourself. This is the main support site from SAP, which all the customers have access to, not just Pioneer. So you as a customer, you can request to Pioneer your identification number, which is called S number. And there you can access so much information related to either upgrades, training materials, presentations, new stuff that comes on board, even recorded sessions from SAP. It's incredible everything that you can find in there. However, in the presentation, I'm leaving you here the link. I'm also showing you, for example, how I found over here the SAP note where I was looking for the GDPR compliance, and checking here that this is kind of like what I took into consideration to migrate to 9.3 PL4. Also, I am leaving you here everything in terms of knowledge base, where you can download the software, because as I was saying, the policies that you as a user, you are totally entitled to take the risk and upgrade by yourself. I personally wouldn't recommend you to do it, because when you do it with someone that just knows what they are doing, you are not jeopardizing your operation in the company. However, this portal also offers you expert conversations or chat with experts, or recorded sessions, notes with SAP, where you can have that information as well. I'm leaving you everything here, even with SAP upgrade strategies, the patch deliveries, when the patches are released, and what things are included in that patch. Just if you're looking for an enhancement in particular, where is that located at? I'm also reading here a question from Josh. Are there security risks to run out of support versions? Personally, I remember when I started working with FOH, one of the things that affected me the most is that we were having a problem with one particular transaction. When we were moving from a sales order to a invoice, something as simple as that, and it had a few considerations. SAP was crashing. So we were having such a, such a painful process that we needed to take care of. When I started working in FOH, we reported this issue to SAP, and SAP answered that this is solved in newer patches, and your version is out of maintenance. So that's part of the risk that you're going to have. So
Yeah,
you are now going to do it faster and ahead, and probably without much time to organize your budget and to organize your team, because you need to do it kind of like on the fly due to this problem.
yeah, and one more thing to add to that, Karina, is that in some cases, Microsoft are doing security patches. And normally SAP are coming with new patches following those security patches right after Microsoft. And SAP will normally do that for their main two recent versions. So for example, if you're on 9.1, Microsoft get a new security patch that doesn't allow SAP now to connect. All your users are not going to be able to connect. So
That's
you
correct.
have to go back with the security patch. So you're going to be delayed with your security patches on Microsoft until you are able to upgrade SAP.
That's important, because that happens to us. That happened to us once as well. We have that implemented to upgrade Windows patches in the server, and we were affected by the same thing. So we had to, our operation was totally affected, and we had to go to our disaster recovery plan and implement the previous Windows version again in order to be able to work again with SAP.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is a lot of risk to leave it run without support, because I mean, for now you can be just fine, right? But once you need SAP to be included in the loop, they are gonna just reply that to you that you need to upgrade.
Good, good. Any other questions? And maybe while waiting for questions, Karina, I know there is a lot of materials on the SAP website, and I also wanted to share with you that we here at Pioneer, every version we are looking at it and giving you some additional information. So if you go to our website, pioneerb1.com, and I'm going to search for 9.3, for example, we put together a whole page about 9.3, and it summarized the highlight. What we see is the most valuable for clients, because there are many new notes and features and things of that nature. So we put together what are the highlights we see on that new version, and we also record a session on every new version that is coming. So that is available on our website together with all the additional SAP documentation. The highlight, what's new, tips and tricks, and the 9.3 official brochure from SAP, in addition to what Karina just showed.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Marielle. I am wondering how long has the 9.3 upgrade been available, and when's the next upgrade expected, if you know that?
Or do you want to answer?
Yeah, good question. SAP 9.3 is available. Normally, SAP comes with a new version and start with the early adapter phase. So they let only some clients to test, to upgrade, make sure everything works well for them. And then after a few months, they go with the general release. In 9.3 version, I think it came out for general release last year around September. And
No, before 9.3 was enabled before, because we implemented 9.3 pretty much in a fresh start in August. So when we implemented 9.3 was in patch 4. We were like, there were already 4 patches of 9.3. So yeah, I think 9.3 was launched at the beginning of last year, but for early release. And then later around, I can only tell you that we implemented that in August in the patch number 4.
Yep.
Good thing is that it's going to be in support until 2020, so you will have a lot of time to do an upgrade right now in 2019, and then wait for the other version. Also very important, 2020 will be in support just for 9.3 PL03, which is the one, which it was the information I had when I did this presentation. However, right now, if you move to 9.3, call it PL8, the deadline for the support will be later than June 30th, 2020. So it's going to be about 2 years what you're going to get.
Yep, and your second question was the next version. The next version is going to be actually a new family. It's going to be version 10.0. So and that expected in closer to the end of the year. We don't have an exact date yet, but it's going to be available most probably by the end of 2019 for general release. We have one more question here. Do your website using Match V1 have to go down for maintenance during the weekend of the upgrade also?
No, thanks God. It doesn't. It doesn't have to. For our Match V1, what we did, although it was like a low priority add-on for us, you don't need to make them go down. They are separated. Like the servers are running, where our servers are running are different than our application server. So SAP was totally independent to that. And what ended up happening is that once we finished our upgrade process, everything started to sync through just fine. We had a very good experience with Match V1. So no, we don't have to go down for maintenance during the weekend.
Right. So what you're saying, the website is still up. You can make sales, but the orders are not going to come through until you bring SAP up again.
Something also very important is that now that we also have Square as our point of sale, I don't know if here are Square customers as well, it's the same situation. So Square will keep working as expected, and then it syncs through.
Okay. Thank you.
What is one change that you have made in your upgrade process that will suggest every company that should do? Well, I think the meeting with the team, it's very important, because during that time you are under a lot of pressure and you do need them. So the fact that you make them feel that you are doing this all together, and you make them feel committed, and that this is not just a project for the ERP itself or for the IT department or such, it's very important, more like it's a business project. So I think that was one of the changes that we did that was really helpful. And the second one was to prioritize what you can do in the upgrade itself and what things could wait. So for example, we knew already from experience that HANA also always breaks. So for this time, we took the opportunity to prepare our reporting and make sure that to be ready and to be prepared before the upgrade, so we could offer that to the users while we had the time to reconstruct what was happening. So we prioritized, we upgrade, and then we divided and conquered with that particular strategy.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Just when you say you prepared your reporting ahead of time, do you mean that you had an alternative way of reporting, like using Excel, like for instance, just for the interim until your links were, or your reporting platform was fixed?
What we did is that we downloaded all the information from the report, and then we save it in an Excel. Yes, and we also were able to create just simple queries that could take them a little bit longer, or even using the reports from SAP itself. We gave them a plan B. But yes, originally what we did was to download, like that Friday, I stepped in their desk on their offices, and I was like, yeah, make sure to download it. Did you download it? Did you save it? So yes, that's how we did it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Excellent presentation and super helpful.
Thank you. I'm so happy. I feel that once you are part of the customer group, and also coming from Pioneer's world, I feel that my main goal is to help you feel empowered and to make you feel comfortable and make you feel that you have a partner where you can ask them to do things in order for you to feel that you are not jeopardizing your operation and that all the things are going to be considered. So hopefully this presentation will help you to go through that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you everyone for joining the conference today.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you. Excellent presentation and very insightful, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, everybody, and have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.